All right, everyone, welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad to see so many people on board. Welcome to today's webinar. We've got a lot of things we want to cover. Hope everyone's had a great summer. We're going to start off this Kinexit webinar series with the theme around how we can extend our teaching toolbox. And like many other webinars that we do, we like to get a little bit of kind of details around how webinars work. I think everyone's participated in one type of webinar before, but just a couple of house rules. First of all, hopefully you guys will be able to see and hear us. Feel free to use the chat if you have any questions. We will have a little bit of a session at the end if there's any questions. Otherwise, you can always email and reach out to us afterwards. If you may, you are always welcome to use our social accounts to share content, tag us. We're always happy for that. Now, we've had the honors to work with lots and lots of different teaching professionals all around the world. And I'm incredibly honored to have a special guest with us, Henrik Swärdh, a teaching professional who's been working with Kinexit and been using Kinexit for a number of years, but also over this year, he's also become a customer success manager with us, and we're incredibly proud to have him on the team. And I want to say welcome.
Thank you. First and foremost, thank you, Chris, for inviting me back to do these webinars. It's always a good thing if you're invited back. So hopefully we're going to do an amazing webinar, and hopefully we're going to inspire a lot of you to add golf fitness to your teaching toolboxes.
Very cool. I think, Henrik, maybe you can just give us a little bit of background about yourself. I always like to, everyone's going to be spending at least a good 40, 45 minutes with us now. So maybe you can give us a little bit of an insight of who you are and what type of kind of teaching that you like to do, and how fitness fits into your model.
Yeah, well, of course. Well, my name, as you said, is Henrik Swärdh. I am 38 years old, and I am a teaching professional at Carlskrona Golfklubb in the south of Sweden. I've been here for the last, I think it's 13 years now, and I tried my luck as a playing professional. It was mostly based on luck, had nothing to do with skills. I know that now, looking back at it, but being in that situation, trying to be a playing professional, I always took better care of my physical abilities and my physical strength and conditioning, that part of my golf game, rather than the actual getting the golf ball into the hole part, which when you look back at it isn't very smart if you want to make a living. But that also made me, when I ended my playing career and I started pursuing a career in teaching, before I entered the Swedish training program in 2011, I actually took my TPI level 1 certification before that, which made the physical foundation or fitness, that it was my basis to stand on for my teaching. But after that, I graduated in 2014, and being interested in the fitness part, being well educated as well through that field, I started directly out of the training program. I started as a coach and a teacher within the training program. So I actually have had the responsibility to introduce the last 8 classes within the Swedish teaching program into the field of screening and physical limitations. So I've had a couple of other subjects as well, and I'm actually a head teacher for the periodization and the golf training theory part as well. But mostly I tend to always tend to come back to the basic foundation, which is your physical ability. Whatever type of technique you wish to apply to your students, it always ends up with the physical part. So that's me. I've also been a little bit involved with the Swedish national team and introducing the youngsters into the the Swedish national team through the Super Camp project, which is like the 13 to 15-year-olds. But mostly all I do comes back to the physical training part, the physical ability to either hit a golf ball or whatever you want to do in life. It always ends up there.
Well, that really tees us up for what we're going to be talking about over the next couple of minutes. And just incredibly proud to have you on board. And it's going to be super fun to just, spend this time now in this webinar only and just dive deep into how we can help players move better, to play better, and so forth. So teeing that up, a little bit about myself. My name is Chris Mansson, the CEO of Kinexit, and started my career years ago working a lot with professionals and working a lot with players of all types of forms, specifically on the fitness side of things, and studied something called applied functional science. Spent a lot of time in the US and really fell in love with the whole concept around movement and how we can help players move better to play better. And that brought us into this whole concept around how we can, work with digital tools, but doing that in a really, really cool way that will enhance the golf experience. So what we've done is we've created a platform specifically for teaching and coaching professionals to really help utilize and work with a player's movement. So it's all about being able to screen, analyze, and improve players. So we were founded in 2014, and we're all about making it super simple and easy for professionals to work on the physical abilities of their students and how that works with their technical development. And with that, a part of it is being able to assess a player. So in Kinexit, we can assess its player very simply. We provide different types of programs so the player can really move and get better. And pretty much all that types of areas we like to call golf fitness in this time. Now, we've had the honors of working with professionals all around the world, and just prior to the summer, we partnered with the PGA of Denmark. So we're really proud to be working with them, and we're welcoming a lot of PGA members from the Danish kind of group from that perspective. So very excited about that. Now, a little bit about numbers, from Kinexit perspective, we've got professionals all around the world. We're pretty much covering 7 countries today, and we've got about 10,000 end users and a little over 1,000 exercises. So continue to grow, and just the need for helping players move better is something that seems to be growing. So yeah, excited to be part of that movement. Now, in today's agenda, what we're going to be talking about, first of all, we're going to be covering the question of why should a professional be adding golf fitness to their teaching toolbox. We know for a fact that time has always been a bit of a challenge when it comes to including golf fitness. So when something takes too long, we have a tendency to moving that to the side. So I'm going to be putting out a bold statement and asking, how can we assess a player in less than 5 minutes? So we can make that part of our data collection when we're collecting information to help the player, play better. How can we increase our revenue through golf fitness? We're going to be talking about how we should use online platforms, and technology today is growing. So how we can utilize different types of platforms to improve the experience. And then first most, how can we include golf fitness into different packages to increase the perceived value? So Henrik, what do you feel about this lineup? Do we think we can cover this?
I think so. I think this is basically, if we cover those 5 points over the next 45 minutes, I think we're going to give everyone quite a substantial insight into how to integrate this into the everyday teaching.
Very, very cool. All right, so let's get started. So the first topic of what we want to talk about is how can we add golf fitness into our teaching toolbox? Now, when we look at golf fitness, we love the whole concept around this pie chart of working with the hole. We can call it game fitting. Now, if we look at equipment, all the manufacturers done an amazing job in revolutionizing the industry with amazing things that are coming out. And we can really, if you haven't bought a new custom set for a number of years, if you go in and see Teaching Professional and you get equipment that's fitted for you, it can work wonders. But working with players all around the world, we know that buying a new set of equipment or a new driver every year, perhaps you're not going to maybe see that big enhancement that you were going to be doing if you buy something over the next couple of years. So the equipment is an important piece, but it's also very, connected to your swing. And what's connected to the swing? Well, your body. And we like to say that the body, or the golf fitness chapter, is really the back door into technical development. If we look at the pros today, super interesting how they're all warming up, how they're all taking care of their body. They're all looking very fit and athletic. And I think a lot of amateur golfers and juniors are very interested to follow suit how they can do this. And I think for a teaching and coaching professional, this is a really interesting opportunity. I don't think golf fitness is something that's new, but it's something that I think a lot more professionals can utilize and do things so they can, enhance the experience for the player. Anything you want to kind of comment on that topic there, Henrik?
No, I think the main thing we need to address is the time issue.
Yeah.
How to integrate it without it being a 45-minute screening and then a 6-week training program, and then being able to fix their slice. How to integrate it into your everyday work. That's gonna be crucial.
Yeah, I like that. And I think that's a critical point. And we're going to get to that. So if everyone just stays tuned a little bit, I think we're going to definitely come into a lot of those areas around time management. But to dissect the golf fitness side of things, we talk about why. I think it's important that everyone understands that, movement and, working on your body, you're going to be healthier, you're going to be fitter. It's all those things are very, very important. But if we work on golf fitness, we need to know the key areas that I think a consumer wants to kind of see areas of improvement. So we look at the first aspect of improving swing and ball speed. Today, incredibly hot. I think nowadays a lot more players are at least learning that thanks to different types of launch monitors, how far one can hit. I think there's still a lot of things players need to learn, but I think they're understanding that, hey, okay, I can either do things to at least maintain my ball speed or my swing speed, or the distance that I can hit the ball, but how can I change that? A key thing is being able to move and rotate, and the body's engine, basically. I like to kind of reference a car. I think we can all buy new wheels and rims, and we could change the interior of a car. But if we have great equipment, we got great clothes, we got a decent swing, but the engine isn't strong enough. Like if this Ferrari is there and we fit that Ferrari with a Fiat engine, it's never going to go very fast. So what we can do with fitness is we can trim and we can tweak and we can build up that engine so we can really, really, really create the torque that we want it to. Creating good habits is another aspect. Really on the low end is all members, all players that we work with at Carlskrona, they've done an amazing job in creating a training culture where players are warming up. Doesn't matter if you're young or you're an older player, everyone's warming up and getting ready for play. We're looking at this whole game fitting aspect again that we mentioned with fitness, equipment, and technique, and building that into your whole lesson experience is also another thing around fitness that we want to do. But this as well, we've talked about this numerous times, Henrik, around creating a professional impression, around making sure that when we work with our players, we're not only assessing their goals and what they want to do and how they want to improve, but we're also assessing the fact of their technique. We're visually looking at how they're hitting that ball, and what we can do, what we can help them when to improve. But another thing is their body, making sure that we reference the body and really making sure that if they can move properly, they have the foundation. But if they can't, it's pretty difficult to work with on the technical side long term, isn't it?
Yeah, well, long term, it's going to be really difficult to do some substantial changes that's going to affect their game. But we also need to ingrain it into the teaching process, which means that, okay, you need to be able to do a screening, measure where are we, make a foundation, make a basis on where are we now, and then take that over time to develop abilities. But that's going to take so much longer time than what they normally are used to when it comes to training or practicing. So we can't forget the fact that we need to solve their problem on a short-term basis as well, which means that we can't really, well, if you are super gifted in your explanatory side, you can explain to someone why they should be doing their a new fitness routine for 8 weeks before you can fix their slice. But I haven't been able to do that over my years as a teacher. So we have to address the fact that we need to measure the physical capacity. Then we need to, until that physical capacity has, also need to fix the problem, that the reason why they come to us as a teacher, and that is all in all fixing their ball flight. So we need to be able to teach around some physical limitations while we are working on them, parallel to the fact that we're working on their golf game short-term basis as well.
Well, if we come into that, I think when we talk about assessing players overall, I think we talked about that is time management and working on long-term, short-term aspects. But just when we work with players, I think it's very easily to understand that everyone has their unique setup, their unique style. There are some core fundamentals to the golf swing. We can all agree on that. But when it comes to the body, there are a lot of similarities that we can see and some fundamental movement skills that we want every player to be able to do in order to really optimize their swing. So when we look at all these players, we can see the similarities of the concept of moving in their different planes. So we've got our, first of all, our identifying them. We've got our forward and backward movement, or in the sagittal plane, we could say. We've got our frontal plane movement side to side. We also have our rotation. All these key things are really important, and these require movement in all different joints and bones and aspects. But when it comes to the whole aspect around the swing, if a player is limited in being able to just overall being able to bend forwards or bend backwards, this will in some shape or form affect their way to swing. Most players, they'll take the shortcut in optimizing their swing and so forth, but if they have problems already here doing things, this will most likely kind of show in the swing as well. If we look on the frontal plane as well, if they have a hard time side bending, this will affect them. And the same thing with rotation. And the key thing here is, from a Kinexit perspective that we're going to come into, is how can we optimize every part from a fundamental movement skill to help them swing the club even better. So going in a little bit deeper on that, understanding there's those alternating movement patterns. We've got mobile joints, we've got stable parts of the body, and the key thing here is we want to make sure that the green zones are moving in the way that we want them to. We want the ankle, we want the hip, we want the thoracic spine to be moving. The problem is, though, is our lifestyle. It doesn't always connect, and not everyone has the time to do like a tiger kind of routine where you wake up, you hit the gym, you hit your cardio, you go to play practice, you go play 9 holes, you have lunch. Not everyone has the time to do that. At the best, you might have time to, you practice a little bit and you go and play. And from a fitness perspective, we want to make sure that the body is primed and it's ready. If we look at players that show symptoms of low back pain, for instance, 9 times out of 10, most of the time it's not because the low back is weak, it's because the thoracic spine or the hip is not doing what it's supposed to do. the cool thing about that is all the players that we work with, all the seniors, all the adults, and everyone that kind of has that, you know what, you've probably heard that. I mean, Henrik, how many times have you heard that? Like they played their 18 holes and like, oh, my back is sore, or I'm pretty stiff, or, you know, I feel that I'm not able to, I feel pretty restricted. How often do you hear that?
Well, that's probably even more the phrase, I'm so stiff. That's probably more, that's something they say to me as a teacher before they even shake my hand and tell me their name when they come into a first-time lesson. Oh, just so you know, I'm stiff. Well, okay, but where and why and how are we going to address that? Because that is, I think that's a little bit of an excuse as well. It's a common excuse that, okay, I can't really do much to this because I am stiff, like it's some sort of genetically inherited thing. It could be if you have a disease or if you have that kind of spectra, but mostly it's just because you are not, your lifestyle has made you immobile. That's just what it is. When we're talking about the golfers that come to us on a daily basis, when we talk about elite level golfers, it's something different, and we're going to address both of those, I guess, coming forward. But we have to, because when we talk about integrating fitness and movement patterns and all of that, it tends to be something our general stock of members feel, oh, that's for the elite level golfers. But it's a basic foundation to be able to hit a golf ball, no matter if you want to be on tour or if you just want to play those 18 holes without back pain. So we need to address the fact that it should be common sense for everyone to work on that, as well as working on the other aspects of the pie chart with the equipment and the swing technique.
The good thing though is that, you know, years ago we weren't really able to address it. You know, we kind of leave it to the side, or we say, okay, you know, let's work around it. The cool thing now is that we can really do something about it. We don't have to have a doctor's degree or a fitness degree and know everything about the body. We can very simply help the player and create value. I mean, what we're going to be covering today, we can get them signed up with like something like Kinexit. We can do a simple assessment to get kind of a little bit of that customization, knowing kind of what their limitations are. And from there, they're going to get drills, things that they can do at home, easy things that they can do on a daily basis to help them. You know, how much would that mean from your perspective? What has that meant for you now doing that? Because you do it regularly when players come and say, hey, you know, my body it feels better. I can do things that I wasn't able to do before.
That's crucial. That make my life a whole lot easier. And I tend to push it on to them as toothbrush training to start with. I tend to make them feel like they can ingrain a habit that's as natural as brushing their teeth. I mean, no one listening in here, all of you brush your teeth. You do that every morning and every evening, and you don't question why, because that's just basics. And I feel like if we can ingrain that into some kind of habit, creating a good habit, whether that touches in on warming up or that is whatever it might be, doing a little routine before bed or when you get out of bed, that's going to be crucial. And that's going to make my life, because I am a swing geek as well. I mean, I love my structure, I love my technique, I love my flying wedges and all of that stuff. And I want to have a good lump of clay that I can mold into a better golf swing. And fitness makes that a whole lot easier.
So when we talk about fitness, we talk a lot around making it personal. I think it's a very, very important part to become successful. I think we can't cheat that and just give everyone a program. We need the customization. I think it's like today it's become a norm to do some type of a club fitting. I think because so many things that you can change and you can tweak and you can make adjustments to really make sure that they get the best fitted equipment for them. I think it's the same thing related to the body. And when we talk about screening and assessments, within Kinexit, we've got a wide range of different types of assessments. Everything, depending on the circumstance, depending on when you need it. So we got something called our express assessment, which is perfect when it's as it sounds. You need something in express. You can do it in less than 5 minutes. You can do it directly from the hitting bay, and it's perfect when you have a short lesson, when you have an area where you just want them to get like a taste this whole world around the body and fitness and so forth. We have our mobility screen, which is a little bit more in depth, gives you more data to dissect. We've got our power, upper, lower, speed, and endurance. These are perfect for junior and elite players, making sure that we want to cover all bases around the player's, performance and so forth. A little bit about our screening. Our screening is based on a couple of different fundamentals. First of all, how the player is able to move in these 3 planes of motion that I mentioned before. Like, how can I bend forwards and backwards? How can I side bend? How can I rotate? We also address how the player is able to move in their thoracic spine, their hips, and their feet. We call them the big rocks, you can say. From here, we will be taking care of making sure that the player has feedback and reports, and then also all the different drills and exercises they need to improve, ensuring that as a professional, you can focus on the assessment, making sure that they get in, and then from here, we'll do the rest. So covering up on these different areas that we can improve, making sure what we do is mapping and targeting what areas that we need to focus on. So if the player needs, for instance, to work on their upper body rotation, we'll give them drills for that. It could be their upper body thoracic spine. It could be their pelvic tilt. It could be numerous different areas. We'll make sure we'll map the right drills and everything's done in an instant. So if we just cover the express assessment, from here, we can do it in multiple different ways. So the first step that happens is the player will be creating their membership. And when they create their membership, they're going to get invited from a professional, and that's going to be you. And then they're ready to go. They're ready to get started. And here, when we talk about the express assessment, it's about a little bit under between 3 and 5 minutes, I would say. We're looking at 5 tests. These tests identify the typical limitations connected to the swing. We're looking at pelvic tilt. We're looking at upper and lower body separation. We're looking at a toe touch and a balance test. And these require a very simple yes and no reply. So basically what we're looking at is how well on the first test can a player pelvic tilt. So Henrik, maybe you can take over here. I'll be showcasing these a little bit, and then maybe you can just give us a little bit of a short kind of what we look for. But we're looking at 3 areas. We're looking at green, yellow, and red. And when it comes to these scores, it's basically yes, the player's able to do it. So if we go ahead and get started, so I'm going to have a pelvic tilt. What we're looking at here is the player, can they tilt their pelvis backwards and forwards? And in here, we want kind of a smooth motion. If we see the player doing too much of this kind of unstable kind of hacking, you would say, I would call that kind of a yellow. They're able to do it, but it's kind of stiff or restricted. In the case go ahead.
Yeah, and what we also can do is we can actually add some stability to this. If we want to check if the motion is there, we can actually just lightly hold on to the shoulders and see if they can move their pelvis, and then we see, okay, they have them able to do the motion, but they don't know how to stabilize their body. Okay, so we know that, and then they also get a yellow. But we need some sort of ability to do that and not look like Chris just did with the losing their posture type as well. We need them to stay in golf posture, and we need to see that they can actually use their pelvis backwards and forwards.
So once the player's done this, we will go to the second test. And I want to be clear here. This webinar, we're going to be covering just to give you an insight of our test work. If you want to learn more about how our tests work in detail, feel free to reach out. We've got lots of videos and so forth that you can look into. And if you want to try Kinexit, you can go ahead and play with it as well. Second test, we're looking at, can I separate my lower body from my upper body?
Yeah, so you get into golf posture again, and you stabilize your upper body. You stabilize your shoulders, and you try to rotate your hips. Not moving from side to side. If you can face the camera instead, Chris, and just go side to side, this is not what we're looking for. And this is a very, very common movement when they try to rotate. So what we're looking at is we need a stable upper body, and we need rotation in the lower body. The knees are allowed to change flex a little bit. So we don't want to do just straightening our legs. That's femur displacement. That's another thing. What we need to do is rotate the hips.
At a red, so I like to say, like, is the player able to do this? So if they can't do it, then what happens is, like we mentioned, we got the side to side movement. And I like to be quite hard here in that case. If they can do it, or is there room for improvement? Like, it's pretty good, but would I say that they can improve here? Then I would click the yellow button from that perspective. Then we have our third test. Can we separate the body?
Exactly. And then we do the opposite. We fix our lower body. I tend to tell clients that they can actually turn their knees a little outwards so that they really stabilize their lower body. And then we try to rotate the upper body, making sure that the shoulder that comes forward goes down under your shin, and the shoulder working backwards move backwards and upwards, not like Chris just showed with them just turning on a level plane, because now they haven't incorporated the side bending part. So we kind of test multiple planes of motion with the same screening here.
We have our toe touch.
I'm glad you're showing this one, buddy.
Mine is terrible today, so day-to-day operation. But from here, basically, feet together, nice and easy. I'm not going to back up too much. I'm going to hit the wall, but you just have to trust me. Oh, it's tough today. So I'm going to give myself a no. I'm almost there. Not really.
But that is also the ability to hip hinge, which is going to be crucial to you staying in posture when you are trying to swing and maintaining those tilts and all of that you want to do. It's maintaining hip tilt and maintaining balance while you hip tilt.
And then finally, we have a balance test.
And balance is good. Balance is crucial for hitting a golf ball, but this is also a kind of test for ankle mobility, because when you look at the player in front of you and they balance on one leg with their knee up, you're going to see how their foot moves as well. You're not only going to see if they stay in balance or not, but you're going to see how their foot moves and reacts to them being pushed by gravity.
So these two tests are yes or no. There's really no kind of a mid. It's like, can you do it or not? So we're looking at both right and left. If they can do it on one side and the other, that's a yes. If they can't do it on one side, they can do it on the other, that's a no. Once all these tests are done, then what will happen is we'll be giving the player certain aspects around the golf swing. So first of all, something that we've actually tweaked and we've done only something that we upgraded only just a very short time ago was giving a player a golf fitness handicap. So this right here is something that's being altered. So the higher the handicap, the put it in quote, the worse the golf fitness or the more room for improvement, the lower the golf fitness handicap, the better. So it's more of a way to be able to cover or share areas around golf fitness. We want to keep it very simple for the player. So we want to bear that in mind. We have also got areas where we cover, again, showcasing the color, making sure that we know what the player needs to work on. So this is more of an illustration to show, okay, what's my goal fitness handicap? What's the images that where I need to work on? So I might be, in this case, this player has a lot of things that they need to improve. The key thing here is not to get down on them. I think it's basically saying, you know what I'm excited about? You're a pretty low. I had a player a couple months ago. He was that I was working with another coach. I think he's a very low handicap. I think it was like good player, 3 to 4 handicap. He basically scored everything red, and he was pretty down. I was like, I'm excited. You're a decent golfer. You're playing good golf, and your fitness is pretty. You need to work on it. And I was like, I bet you if we can get these levels down, if you can really improve on this, I can see a lot of things happening. And guess what? A lot of things have happened. He's just doing some pretty cool results. He doesn't have all green yet, but he's very, very close to, and he's definitely seeing things in his body that he hasn't seen for years and years and years. So again, there's just a lot of potential for improvement when players come in and what we can do here. Any comments there, Henrik?
No, but well, just putting emphasis on that is that we all know, as teachers, we all know that it's easier to take a player from a 54 handicap down to a 10 than it is to take him from a 3-4 handicap down to a 2, which means that if you get a player and you screen them and you see all reds, I would get excited too, because then I have a very, very good possibility to actually make them improve their golf game, because as decent golfers, they have figured out a way to solve their problem hitting the golf ball. If I have all these red flags coming into their fitness assessment, I know that with just a little bit of work, we can make them hit the golf ball further, or we can make them play more, or something that's going to make their handicap drop even more. And that's, as you say, it's really, really exciting to get, because I mean, what to do if everything is green? And that's the same thing. What to do if a tour player walks in through your door? You're gonna have to get to work on some really high level stuff, and this is the low hanging fruit. I mean, getting them to start working on their physics.
I agree. Now, again, we've got a wide range of assessments, and during these webinars, we like to give a little bit of a tease to give you an understanding of what we can do and what we can cover. Now, we're going to be continuing on into the whole kind of fitness area and so forth now. And I think we've talked about time management, and we've all talked about kind of the importance of adding fitness into our golf lesson experience. I really want to prove that we can do this very efficiently. So when we talk about the process from start to finish, the first thing we need to do when we work with a player is, if they want to access and get access to lots of great movements, lots of great exercises and drills, they need access to their platform. So what we want to do from a coach perspective is share a membership with them, a Kinexit membership. Doing that, it goes in an instant. We can do it in about 10 seconds. We put in their name and their email, and then we get them screened. And depending on what screen we want to choose, what we just showed right now was our express assessment. It takes about 3 minutes to do. We also have our more in-depth mobility screen. That takes about 10 to 12 minutes. We assess the foot mobility. We assess forward tilt. We do backward reach, sideways. We do a lot of different more things that we cover, and we ask more for an accurate distance, how far you can reach from the wall. If you're interested, feel free to reach out, or I could definitely direct you to some other videos where we cover exactly how those tests work, but they are awesome. Once you've done your screening, then we're going to go over the feedback. And again, it should take about 3 minutes to get to the next step. And then from feedback till like, hey, player, you can start moving, we're looking at 1 to 2 minutes. So this whole process, we could cover this whole thing in less than 5 minutes. So kind of killing that comment that's been around where, hey, I don't have time to do this. I feel that fitness and movement is important, but just don't have the time. Henrik, what are your comments there on, like, from your experience working with it? Are we able to add this into our experience or the lesson experience in a smooth way?
Definitely. I've done it, and you've also done it in the beginning, trying to do what I said in my introduction, doing a 45-minute screening followed by a structured work regimen over 8 weeks and but what we need to address is the fact that we need to get them started. And I screen everyone. I do this on every single lesson. And it is, I mean, for me, having done it now for a number of years, I would say I'm through this in 3 to 4 minutes, which means that it's not really difficult to ingrain this into a 25-minute lesson. It's possible. I'm not saying that when you start off with this, I'm not saying that you will be able to do it in that short amount of time, but I think you need to start practice screening every single time. And that is, I mean, you don't need the app to start with, you need a piece of paper. We have screening protocols that you can print out, that you can have side in your lesson bay, and you can just tick boxes, and then you enter that later. But you get a feeling for what you have to work with when it comes to the physical abilities of the player, and that's super important.
So moving in a little bit to the kind of the exercise and the kind of the drill bit. Now, when it comes to Kinexit, the actual drills and so forth, we have a little over 1,000 exercises, and based on advanced technology, you could say AI, like the common word is, we filter out what kind of drills we want to give the player. Like, again, we can't give someone 1,000 exercises, that's just way too much. So based on their assessment and other parameters, the player is going to be getting a number of different programs and drills to work from. And this is kind of an image that I like to illustrate, is working on the kind of the performance pyramid, where from a teaching profession, help us supporting the whole experience. We're not there to take over or compete. We're just there to complement the overall success that kind of works with the professional and what happens within the studio or the lesson environment, just to make it easier and make it more efficient. So a little bit about the app and about the platform. A player can choose different types of programs and themes, ranging from warm-up to flexibility, strength, endurance, 15 to 60-minute workouts. Everything's animated, very easy to follow. And from there, the player can continuously improve and work on what they need to do. So when we talk about fitness, we also go into kind of the business side. And I mentioned before that by including and incorporating fitness into the lesson experience, I'm not talking about creating a gym, I'm talking about creating that overall professional kind of look and feel. What we see is that it's very much a door opener into technical development. So it will help you in your ways of improving and helping the player improve. And that's a key thing. If we can help the player get better, they're more likely going to come back and they're going to talk to their friends. And that's how it all starts. When we talk about the offer for the student, we're noticing more and more professionals, and this is something we're going to come into with you, Henrik, showcasing some of how you're doing and giving some inspiration, hopefully, to others. The fact that adding it will help improve the value for the package and the offer, which more likely will give you more an ability to increase pricing and more likely then be able to increase revenue. So going into some of your cases, we could definitely showcase that, Kinexit is used in multiple different areas. Everything from the first lesson to the lesson package, group training, etc. Maybe you could just cover a little bit, Henrik, how, in short, through the single lesson, a little bit around your packaging and so forth. Maybe you can just help us walk us through there.
Yeah, well, I tend to, with all my lesson packages, I do a separate screening part during the first lesson, because I want to make sure, since it's this important to me, I want to push it on the student, because they don't know it's important for them, which means that they can't take that away. If they want a lesson package with me, it's first lesson, screening. And we talk about the physical part of the game. We talk about how they can improve and how they can add this to their toolbox. But we're not exchanging physical training for the golfing part, the technique part. We're incorporating it, and that's the key to it. I mean, you as I said before, you can't veer away from the actual problem. They come to you because they want to improve their golf game. They want to improve their ball flight or chipping, putting, whatever it is. We need to address that during the lesson as well. We can't just do, okay, you're going to do fitness. Oh, but that wasn't what I signed up for, they tend to say. But we need to incorporate it, and we need to be hard on the fact that this is what I stand for as a coach. I want you to work on this as well, because this is going to be the way to improve your golf game, parallel to working on your technique as well. So I've incorporated it into my lesson packages. I do it single lesson. I do screenings that are probably not everyone gets an app introduction, but everyone gets screened, and we talk about the physical limitations. So we tend to spark something in them for when they come back for the second lesson, if they decide to. And I incorporate it into group sessions. The screening itself is an awesome icebreaker on a first group event. Pairing them up, making them screen each other, explaining how and why. Winter training, perfect to add the fitness side to where we mostly, at least from my side of the story, I don't have enough space to have everyone hitting golf balls at the same time during winter practice sessions, which means I need to have them do something else. And then working on mobility is going to be perfect. And we screen together, or they screen each other. You explain why, and then they also train together during the group sessions, which is going to make them do it. If you take them individually and you say, go work on this at home, I mean, Kinexit is awesome. You can actually track how many logins, how many minutes they've logged, how many sessions they've done, everything like that. But having them in front of you working on their physical abilities is going to make them do it more. So I tend to have it within every single part of my academy. You have an example here, which is my small package, but it's in Swedish. But I have a first 40-minute lesson, and then I have 2 follow-up 25-minute lessons. And the first lesson is going to be screening, and of course, analysis of their golf game as well. But they get a practice plan, not only for the golf game, but they get a practice plan for their physical training as well. And they get a Kinexit membership for as many months as we have decided. And then it's a go. And then you can always come back to the fact that you can see what they've done, and you can then hold them accountable for them not improving their ball flight. If you, as a teacher or a coach or a professional, have explained to your student that physical training is important for us to be able to solve your golf game issues, if you then can hold them accountable for not doing it, you're going to make them do it in the long run, because they are going to see that when they come back and you tell them the exact same things you told them the first lesson, and they wonder why, and you say, well, you haven't really done your homework, have you? You're going to put them on the spot, and then they're going to hopefully work on that going forward.
Now we're coming to kind of the end of this, and the whole take on adding goal fitness into our lesson experience. We've covered everything from assessments to integration to how we can package it in many cases. And I think these are great examples for how we can just enhance the experience overall. Henrik, I've asked you before kind of what, coming into this, kind of if you wanted to talk about maybe 3 areas that you want to kind of want someone to bring with them from this. You wanted me to write these areas, so maybe you can talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, the main thing is that you are the professional. You need to figure out what you stand for. You need to figure out what's your edge or what's your type of coming into the problem solving part. And you need to make an active choice. If you believe that golf fitness or the physical part of the golf game is important, you need to integrate that into your teaching. And you also need to educate yourself. You can't really just say that I bought a Kinexit license, now I know everything. You don't. You need to educate yourself so you can explain to your student or your fellow coaches or whatever, in whichever situation you might find yourself, you need to be able to explain why it's important. So don't talk the talk if you're not walking the walk. You need to keep being able to showcase the screenings. You need to be able to do these things yourself. And I'm completely honest and totally ashamed of my toe touch, but I'm working on it. I'm going to reach that floor someday. And the last part is coming back to the toothbrush analogy, which is if you can get them to do a little in the beginning, that's so much better than doing nothing. Which means if you can get them to incorporate, say, 2 or 3 minutes of stretching or dynamic movements once a day or once every other day, that's going to be so much better than them doing nothing. So you don't need to push on them 60 minutes of physical training every day, because that's going to make your students find another coach. So helping them, starting them off by doing little things is going to be so much better than just not doing anything at all.
Well, those are great examples and just really proof that this is something that's definitely doable, and little is better than just throwing them lots. I've always said that too as well. So great things, and Henrik, it's always definitely a pleasure to have you with us, educating and definitely giving your insights into this really, really important area. Now, for those that are curious and interested to learn more about golf fitness and specifically how you can incorporate it with Kinexit, we do have our partnership with the Danish PGA, which gives us a lot of different options that I want you to read about. A little bit about our process. It's very easy to get started. First of all, I think the best thing would be to discuss with us what kind of onboarding would give you the best experience. And we want to make sure that you get access to your account so you can utilize Kinexit and get going with and trying it and seeing how it works. Now, I think next thing is making sure that you learn what you need to know. Within our onboarding, we go through a good 2-hour session where we cover fundamental biomechanics, deep understanding into how you can do the different lesson screenings, how you can give feedback to players and different within their fitness profile, and then just how do you launch it. For us, it's very important that you get from start to finish in a very, very short amount of time. So when you start sharing memberships, I think we most likely will start seeing benefits within the next week or so. That's going to be our goal, to make sure that you're up and running and very, very comfortable utilizing Kinexit. If you're interested, feel free to reach out. You've got myself, Chris at Kinexit.com, Henrik here at Kinexit.com as well. So Henrik at Kinexit.com if you have any questions for him. Otherwise, it's definitely been an absolute pleasure to have everyone on board. And again, feel free to reach out. If you go onto Kinexit.com, you can go ahead and start a free trial if you want to get started and start playing with the platform. And we're more than happy to cover individual demos and presentations and get you guys up and running as soon as possible. Henrik, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much once again for joining us and taking your time.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure doing these webinars together.
All right, everyone. Have a great day, and we'll see you on the other side.
Take care, everyone.